In a unique move, the Socialist Party of India have decided to field women candidates in all the seats they are contesting in the upcoming Gujarat election. We have with us Professor Sandeep Pandey, the Magsaysay award-winning activist and the General Secretary of Socialist Party of India, and Ms. Amita Buch, the President of Socialist Party of India for the state of Gujarat. Thank you for being here, both of you.
Thank you for inviting us.
So, as I understand, you had organized a Padyatra from Randirpur to Sabarmati Ashram from 26 September to 4th October 2022 to apologize to Bilkis Banu. But Gujarat police detained the Padyatris, and you, along with other people who were part of the Padyatra, were arrested, and you couldn't continue with the Padyatra. So, is this move to field the women candidates a direct consequence of this incident? And what is the message that you're trying to give through this gesture?
Yeah. So you are right. The decision to field women candidates came out of this effort to take out the Padyatra. So as you mentioned, the Padyatra was planned from Randirpur on 26 September. When we reached Godhra, which is the nearest big city from Randirpur, although Randirpur is in Dahod district, but Godhra is nearer to Randirpur, and when we had assembled there and were having dinner at a local corporator, Hanif Kalandar's house, the police raided and arrested 7 of us. They took us to the police station, but because of a large crowd which followed from Hanif's locality, they had to let go of Hanif and 2 women whom they had brought along with us, as you could not take women to police station after 6 p.m. So 3 people were released, but rest of us were taken to a rural police station so that the media will not be able to interact with us. They could not keep us for more than 24 hours at the police station without producing us before a magistrate. Therefore, they let us go next day, but we spent the night at the police station. And next day, when we started walking and had crossed from the Panchmahal district, which is the district of Godhra. Godhra is the headquarter of Panchmahal. And we entered Kheda district after crossing the river Mahisagar. We were again detained by police in the Kheda district and kept at another police station for the night. And on the 3rd day, 10 of us were packed in police vehicles and were brought to Ahmedabad so that we could not take out the Padyatra. While I was in Panchmahal district itself, I told the police that if you will not let me take out the Padyatra, then I will go on a fast, because you can't prevent me from doing that, and that is the only thing I can do, which is in my capacity. And I continued my fast even after I was brought to Ahmedabad, but then they would not allow me to sit in Ahmedabad. The police station denied us the permission. When I went to Gandhinagar, there is a place designated for demonstrations. It is called Satyagrah Chhavni, but no demonstrations were going on. I sat there, but the intelligence people would not allow us to sit there without police permission. And when I sent a letter to the police station, the police inspector there said that, about me, he said I was a Hindu. The person who had taken the letter, his name is Harish Rawal. He said, you are also a Hindu, and why do you worry about this Muslim woman, Bilkis Banu? So we knew that we were not going to get the permission, and therefore I did not know what to do. And then Amita Buch ji was kind enough to invite me to her place. She said, you come to my place and you observe your fast from here. and she was also part of the organizing team of the Padyatra.
So, as I understand, you were not able to finish the Padyatra as you planned, and you couldn't continue with it.
Yeah,
Um,
so
so,
then I observed my fast at Amita ji's place, and it was decided to conclude it 2 days before, when it was supposed to end on 2nd October,
mm,
uh, because that happened to be Gandhiji's birthday, and there are two ashrams in
mm,
which Gandhiji stayed in Ahmedabad,
mm,
the Kochram and the Sabarmati.
mm,
So we decided to end the fast on 2nd October at Kochram ashram.
mm,
And on the night of 1st October, on the night of 1st, when I was writing an article
mm,
on this whole, episode, I thought about this, that uh, Bilkis Bano, even though in Gujarat and from the point of view of the government, she is a Muslim woman, and that is why she is having to pay such a heavy price for it.
mm,
And later, we found that the 11 rapists and murderers of her family members were released because of an order from the Home Ministry. Uh, and my advocate friend in Godhra, Naren Parmar, was questioning as to why only 11, these 11 people were released. There must have been many prisoners in Godhra sub jail, number of them for minor crimes, but they were not chosen to be released. Only these 11 were released. So the question was, why was the case of Bilkis Bano being dealt in this way? That her perpetrators of the crime against her were in the same area in which she is living, and how do we expect her to feel safe in the midst of all these people? uh, and there was virtually no reaction from the people of Gujarat. There have been other incidents in the country where we have seen outrage, you know, among the people, like the Nirbhaya case, where people were even demanding, the hanging of the culprits. The culprits were hanged, after the sentence pronounced by the court. But in this case, although we don't support the punishment of hanging, but in this case, there was not even a murmur from people when the culprits were released from the jail. In fact, on the other hand, we saw pictures of them being garlanded and being offered laddus. So this was very shocking, and I realized all this was happening, to her essentially because she was a woman more than a Muslim, and in a patriarchal society in which we live, uh, you know, we have double standards.
mm,
Like recently, you saw there was a judgment from Madhya Pradesh High Court where two-judge bench says that the man who was convicted for raping a 4-year-old girl, his sentence was reduced from life term to 20 years because he was kind enough to spare the life of this 4-year-old girl. So
mm,
this is really shocking. I was wondering if the judges were women, or at least one of them was a woman, or if the committee which remitted the sentence of these 11 criminals in Gujarat, if it had 50% women. There were 80% men on this committee. If there were more than 50% women, probably the decision would have been something else.
mm,
So because this was happening to Bilkis Bano, uh, being a woman, uh, I in that article I wrote that the only way the crime against women can be reduced in this country is, number one, when women became more aware, they fight for their rights, and number two, when the men become more sensitive towards women. And then I took a decision that in the upcoming elections in Gujarat, maybe we should field all women candidates, and through these women candidates, we will raise this issue of injustice against women. And it also occurred to me because I was at Amita ji's place, and she was kind enough to become the convener of our Hindu-Muslim Unity Committee even before the Padyatra, and we were going to organize a program on 16th October, which was organized and it was very successful. So I decided to ask her in the morning whether she would be ready to become the president of the Socialist Party in Gujarat, because in order to contest the election on women's rights agenda, we should have a woman president. So I asked her in the morning, and she was kind enough to agree to the proposal. So therefore, when I ended my fast on 2nd October, then we made it public that with a woman president, Socialist Party India will enter into the Gujarat electoral fray and put up all women candidates. We haven't got too many women candidates at this point, but we have issued the appeal, which you saw, and hopefully by the time we get into the elections, we will have some women candidates, and we will take this agenda to the people.
Yes. So to sum up what you said, you believe that more women will receive justice only if more women come to power, and you want more women to take up this opportunity which you are giving at this point and come forward and fight in electoral politics and come to positions of power. And thank you, Amita ji, for taking up this position and taking up this huge responsibility which you are doing right now. So even if we look at the Gujarat's current electoral legislative assembly, we can see only 7% women. And among the 1,815 candidates who were fielded for election in the 2017 election, 93%, that is 6,693, were men. Only 122 candidates were women. So if we look at the breakdown, the political parties, BJP fielded only 6%. That is 12 candidates out of the 181 candidates, and Congress and BSP all have similar numbers of women candidates. So do you think your measure of fielding the candidates will have a huge impact? Are you planning to field women candidates at all the 182 seats in Gujarat?
Asking me or Amita ji?
Both, any of you can answer. Maybe Amita ji can answer.
Okay. Amita ji, bataiye.
Actually, 182 may not be possible at the first go, but as many as we can, especially, like in and around Ahmedabad and nearby districts, Kheda, Nadiad, nearby, especially around Bilkis Banu's residence, we'll try to, raise candidates to make it visible. It might not be possible in the first go, 182. But yeah, as many as, because it is not that easy to ask women to contest also. There are so many women, they are capable, but the moment we ask them, they say that no, we cannot take so much of responsibility. And so we have to convince them, we need to counsel them, talk to them. And so we'll come up with as many as we can in the first election.
I've also gone through the mandates of Socialist Party of India. So you've given a lot of mandates, like, you'll be providing 50% of representation of women. You will legalize it, and you'll make, apart from the women's right, you'll be giving employment rights and all these things. So would you like to elaborate on this a bit, Professor Pandey?
Yeah, so we, as Socialist Party, for a very long time has been talking about making right to employment a fundamental right. So you know that a lot of things were not fundamental right when our constitution was made. For example, education was not a fundamental right. It became a fundamental right only in 2009 when the right to free and compulsory education act was made. Similarly, right to food was not a fundamental right. It became a right only after National Food Security Act was made. So similarly, right to employment is not a fundamental right, but we would like to make it a fundamental right. And within employment, we have said that we would like 50% reservation for women, not only in the government sector but also in the private sector, in all elected positions. Right now, there is a demand for only 33% reservation for women in assembly and parliament, but we would like to make a demand for 50%. And similarly, in educational institutions, although the number of girls has increased significantly, if you consider that the girls were not allowed to go to school in the early 19th century, I think this is one of the biggest achievements in modern India, that girls are going in large numbers to educational institutions, but still, we would like to have a 50% reservation in all kinds of institutions. And then, other fields also, as I mentioned, media and other private sector. And we believe that more presence of women in public space. You asked about whether we feel that women in positions of power will make a difference. I certainly think, as I mentioned, even in these two cases, if you consider the decision to release 11 rapists and murderers in the case of Bilkis Bano and the Madhya Pradesh High Court judgment, two judges bench, I am sure if there were more women in the decision making positions, the decision might have been different. So, in an assembly, if you have more women, ultimately how many women we will be able to field is unclear at this point, because, as Amita ji mentioned, not many women are forthcoming. And the second problem that we have seen is, even if we announce more number of women candidates, when it actually comes to filing your nomination, sometimes the women don't have all the documents which are necessary, to file the nomination. I will just narrate an experience from Unnao district in Uttar Pradesh. We had declared a scheduled caste village, woman from a very poor economic background as a candidate. And when she was going to file the nomination, we had told her to bring certain documents, and she brought all those documents. But ultimately, when she took out the documents from her bag, we found that instead of the ration card, she only had a photocopy of the ration card. Mm-hmm. And all the time when we were asking whether you have got your ration card, she was saying, yes, I have the ration card in my bag. So she did not know that a photocopy of the ration card will not do. Mm-hmm. She needed the original. And because of that reason, she could not file her nomination. Mm-hmm. And we put up that the same woman again the second time. Mm-hmm. And the second time she was not able to open the bank account which is necessary to contest an election. A separate new bank account is opened if you want to contest the election to the assembly or the parliament. Mm-hmm. And again, because of some shortcoming in some document, she was not able to open the bank account. So it was very unfortunate that a scheduled caste, a woman from a poor, economic background, whom we wanted to make a candidate 2 times in assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh. Both times she failed to complete her nomination. So there are these practical difficulties also, you know. But we will put up, as many women candidates as would come forward to contest the election, and we are making an effort. And hopefully, when women are present in larger number in assemblies and in decision-making positions, a decision like the one which has been taken in Godhra, will not be taken.
So there are many hurdles before we achieve this target of equal representation of women in electoral politics. So, but I see all this as a sign of resistance, political resistance, which is a must in a democracy. So, even in the recent years, there has been a labeling of this dissent as anti-national or anti-democratic. So, if we quote our Chief Justice of India, new Chief Justice of India, the dissent is the safety valve of a democracy. So, what do you think is the future of political resistance in India?
No, if you look at the recent history, this government is supposed to be very authoritarian, but and it would not allow you to, protest or oppose the government. It deals with dissenters in a very high-handed manner. But in spite of that, if you see some of the most remarkable protests in independent India have happened during this government's regime. So you had, the anti-CA and RC movement by Muslim women almost all over India. Then you had the farmers' protest, and there were various student protests on campuses, JNU, Hyderabad, and other places.
Shine Bagh is most remarkable.
NTCA and RC. So I think the as people become more aware about their rights, we are going to see more resistance, and especially because the regime is becoming more authoritarian. So it is natural that people will oppose it, especially if the decisions being taken are seen to be anti-democratic.
It was a pleasure talking to both of you. And I hope that more and more women take the call and come and join and contest the elections and become part of
Let me
votes.
share my own experience. I was only a voter, anti-establishment voter. But because of this kind of a fascist regime, I felt that no, common persons will have to participate in politics. They cannot stay away from politics. So I think that more and more people will participate in politics.
Yes. On that hope and on that note, let's end this. Thank you, both of you, for the
Thank you.
indeed very grateful for this.
Yeah.
Thank you.